we go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you. That game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute laser from Cooch, wasn't it?
What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. See, the microphone didn't mute today, which was very strange, man. I don't know what the hell was going on with this damn microphone. What's going on, guys? We're going to start the program today before we get into everything else. Happy birthday, Robert Cochran. The only reason why I'm starting with it right off the bat is because his Oklahoma City Thunder got lucky last night, and they beat my Knicks because of the foul merchant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who always goes down like he gets shot with the cannonball. All right, I'm not going to be like that, Robert. Happy birthday, my friend. Thank you so much for always supporting us and chiming in from Oklahoma City, our Oklahoma City correspondent, our guy, Robert Cochran. Happy birthday. You are definitely young at heart. Benny says the Bolts will get their season back on track tonight, and Janet even chiming in as well. Happy birthday to Robert. Appreciate you, my guy. Follow me on all social media platforms at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I'm everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. And, of course, EverHealth. We have our EverHealth injury report with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez at 12:30 today. What else do we have on the docket for today? We also have Lewis Hilton, Tampa Bay Rowdies midfielder, joining us on the program at 1 o'clock. They have their season opener on Saturday on the road, and then their first home game will be on the 21st. So hopefully, depending on how everything's going, try to make my way over there to check out the Rowdies. Come on, you Rowdies. And then also at 1:30, we have Everyday Eddie Encina joining us for his weekly hit to talk all things Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow, the NHL trade deadline. We'll see if the Bolts make a move. I doubt that they stand pat. They got to do something, right? And we're seeing moves in the NFL as well. And shout out to our Carolina correspondent, Steve Garner, who's all over it. Evans to Buffalo now much less likely. And the reason why Steve's saying that, the Chicago Bears working to finalize a deal that would send DJ Moore to the Buffalo Bills. So, with the drafting of Roma Dunze, and I know they really like Luther Burden. And then, of course, you drafted Colston Loveland. There's not going to be a shortage of playmakers, wide receivers, tight ends that are going to want to go play now with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson there in Chicago. So what does that mean for a guy like Mike Evans going to Buffalo? This certainly lessens those chances, no doubt about it, because what Buffalo has done these last couple of years since they moved on from Stephon Diggs, so ironically enough got released by the New England Patriots after only 1 year, they've been kind of going about this without a true number one. They obviously have the two-headed monster with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid there at the tight end spot. And, they've been kind of working through it with a couple of other quick, speedy guys out there. Shakir, I know they brought Gabe Davis back. Keon Coleman really hasn't worked out. And then James Cook, who, they definitely changed the way they went about their offense. And Cook was dynamic. I mean, incredible year for the Bills running back. And that's really, in my opinion, why I thought Joe Brady was going to be the guy there as the head coach, and they were going to elevate him from OC to HC, is because they really showed a couple of years ago a distinct change in the direction of what their offense was going to do. And I think it took a lot of the pressure off of Josh Allen, and he took a lot less hits the last couple of years because the ball was in his hands so much, and he's trying to force feed the ball to Stephon Diggs, and he relied so much on himself running the ball. And listen, he does still run the ball his fair share, but now being able to utilize the backs and to be able to hand the rock off to a guy like James Cook and to be able to do a great job with it. I mean, listen, it was very tough to be able to guard against that Buffalo offense when, he was able to run the football and Josh Allen was able to do his thing, and you kind of took some of the heat off of him. So it makes sense. It really does. It makes sense for them to go out and get a guy like DJ Moore, because I think you have to find the balance. You have to find the balance of having a good running game and then utilizing the play action and still keeping the ball in Josh Allen's hands, because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game right now and probably going to go down as one of the better quarterbacks of all time if he stays on this trajectory. You're talking about an MVP. Now he needs that Super Bowl. But you need a weapon. You need a weapon on the outside, and I think DJ Moore is a solid vet. We've seen what he's been able to do in Carolina and now in Chicago, and he goes to Buffalo. And we'll see. You're looking for these little moves, these little tinkers for these NFL teams. Who's going to take that next step up? Who's going to, fill that void? As much as everybody wants to say, oh, this team's going to be good next year, this team's going to be good next year. You don't know. You have no clue. Once again, I said it before and I'll say it again. Who had Seattle and New England in the Super Bowl last year? Nobody. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to pick the next Seattle or pick the next New England. It doesn't go like that. Every year is different. And then, I was thinking about, I was just finished watching season 8 of Drive to Survive from the F1. If you've never seen it, go check it out. Paul Kennedy, one of the voices of the Tampa Bay Lightning for Script Sports, he's like, Jay, you need to check out Drive to Survive, the F1. And I'm like, I'm really not big into cars, PK. I don't know if it'll be my thing. He goes, trust me. And in my mind, it's the best series that Netflix does when it comes to sports. And I don't think it's close. It's riveting. It's incredible. The personalities are there. The way that they shoot it. They have some of the most beautiful scenery from all over the world. It really is the true global sport of the world. And just watching this past season and seeing how successful a guy like Max Verstappen has been for Red Bull. And you just look at them. And then I just read the story here recently about Steve Kerr complaining about the lack of success for the Golden State Warriors. And it just gets me thinking about success in sports and how difficult it is to win. And even if you do win, there is almost I don't want to say a poison, but I also think that there's a danger that comes from winning, is you get so stuck on, this is what worked for me in the past, and I'm going to continue to do that because we've won that way before. But that doesn't necessarily predict future success. I mean, you look at Bill Belichick and the Patriots, right? He was so stubborn at the end of his tenure with the Patriots. They ended up moving on from Tom Brady, but it's hard to go, hey, Bill, you got to change what has worked for you, because he's been arguably the most successful head coach in the NFL. But you have to adapt with the times. Steve Kerr, who's won 5 rings, how do you tell that guy that what he's been doing the last couple of years, even though they haven't won one, that it's wrong? That's the tough part. You have to be able to keep some of the same winning fundamentals and structure that got you to the promised land, that got you to the top of the mountain. But I think every single year you have to find new ways to motivate and new ways to incorporate a new group. I mean, we look at it with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I think you win a couple of championships, you go to the final, and then you have a bunch of first round exits, right? It's so difficult to win in sports repeatedly that even if you try to do the same things and run it back with the same crew and bring back guys like a Ryan McDonough, it doesn't always work out for you. And that's talking about teams that have won multiple times. What about teams that have never won? Think about the all-time greats that we're dealing with right now that have never won a championship. Just looking the best of the best when it comes to the athletes right now. Aaron Judge has not won a championship. Connor McDavid has not won a championship. Neither has some of the other big players in the NBA. You look at Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Haven't won one. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Right, so you look at across the leagues right now, we are in a very tough time for these all-time greats of are they ever going to win a championship? It's a fair question. It is so hard to make that climb to the top. So you have to do whatever it takes. And I think one of the hard things for coaches and general managers is to keep that open mind and to realize that you can't just rest on your laurels. I don't want to say rest on your laurels, but you can't fall in love with what happened in the past. You can't fall in love with the nostalgia because it's a new day. We were sitting here waiting for a new third line for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then I think when people stopped talking about it, then it showed up with Gord Gergensons and Holmberg. And as I say that, I turn my attention to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Trey Hendrickson and the news that Adam Schefter reported that he wants to go play with the Bucs. And I got to be completely honest with you. I have been one of those guys that has been saying, you got to make a splash move. You got to go out there and you got to get a Sidney Crosby. But I got to be completely honest with you. I'm leaning towards no when it comes to Trey Hendrickson for a multitude of reasons. I'm leaning towards no when it comes to Trey Hendrickson because, first off, hold on, excuse me. I was good yesterday. Now I'm feeling it again today. I'll be okay. I'll persevere. I'll get through it. Oh, there's some other news here. Our friend D'Angelo Lou is going to be on the sidelines for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. How awesome is that? Oh, cool. That's awesome. All right. Good news. Deandra. We're going to see if we can get her on tomorrow as we celebrate International Women's Day. How great is that? Unbelievable. Congratulations, D. Okay. All right. Back to what we were saying. I am leaning towards no when it comes to Trey Hendrickson and the Buccaneers, and for a multitude of reasons. One, he's not getting any younger. He's not getting any younger. He's 31 years old, and people will say, "Oh, well, you should still be able to get to the passer at that age." I understand that, but 31 years old is one thing, but 31 years old coming off of a surgery where you were limited in action worries me. You don't get healthier as you get older. And people will say when they're arguing for Trey Hendrickson, well, look at the years before that. Once again, you're not signing a guy for what he did in the 23-24 and the 24-25 season. You're signing a guy for what he's going to do in the 26-27 season and maybe beyond. Part of the reason why the Hassan Reddick deal worked out is because it was only a one-year deal. It didn't work out. They moved on. And now you got to address it in a different way. And that kind of leads me into my next point is there was still a manageable contract for Hassan Reddick being $15 million. Trey Hendrickson has had his issues with the front office there in Cincinnati because he wants to get paid fair market value. You think he's going to take a discount to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just because he wants to play close to his home in Ponte Vedra? That doesn't make sense. All right, even if he does take a discount, you're going to pay him $25 million a year? What is that going to do for the rest of your roster? So you're telling me that you want to pay a 31-year-old guy coming off of a season-ending injury over $20 million to fortify your pass rush. That is a lot of risk. And I don't know if the reward, we've seen this in the past, where you sign these aging pass rushers. Remember a couple years ago when everybody was talking about Matthew Judon, and I know it was a different injury, but everybody was so excited about Matthew Judon and Kirk Cousins going to the Atlanta Falcons, even though they were in their 30s coming off of season-ending injuries. It doesn't necessarily matter what the injuries are. If you're on the wrong side of 30 and you get knocked out for the entire season, I don't care if it's an ACL, I don't care if it's an Achilles, I don't care if it's core muscle surgery, you don't get healthier the older you get in the National Football League. And people will say, well, what's the difference between him and Max Crosby? Well, I know Max Crosby is going to cost not just the salary and probably a couple picks via trade, but he's also 28 years young. That 3 years is a big difference in the National Football League. Those 3 years mean more in the NFL than any of the other major sports. So, yes, I am leaning no towards Trey Hendrickson. And for those fans out there that want Mike Evans back, no matter what, if you say hello to Trey Hendrickson, say bye-bye to Mike Evans, because there's no way both those guys are going to be suiting up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next season. It's either one or the other. So right there, a litany of reasons why I don't think it makes sense for the Bucs. It's tough. It's tough because you're going to have to pay some kind of premium when it comes to pass rushers. That is a lot of cheddar. That's a lot of cheddar for a guy on the wrong side of 30 coming off of a season-ending injury. You have to look ahead when it comes to things like that. Don't look back. It does not do anything for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to pay Trey Hendrickson for what he did 2 and 3 years ago for the Cincinnati Bengals. Nothing. And I'm telling you right now, if everybody out there is telling you, hey, you should sign Trey Hendrickson because he did this 2 and 3 years ago, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm telling you, it makes zero sense. This is a what have you done for me lately life. This is a what have you done for me lately league. And if you just pay that guy, we're going to pay him $27.5 million for next year, and then he shits the bed. Are people going to say it's okay that you just spent almost $30 million on a pass rusher that gave you 6 sacks? It's okay because he got 18 a couple of years ago for the Bengals. It's fine. No, it's not fine. It's not fine. Be smart. Be smart. Tampa Nike Fitness. Do you see the Leafs got a first for Nick Roy? I did. And it's kind of crazy when you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs on where they're at. A 27 conditional first-round pick and a 26 conditional fifth-round pick. He goes to the Colorado Avalanche. And last year, they went out and got a bunch of second- and third-line centers with Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson. They're looking to fortify their top 6, or their top 9. There's going to be more and more and more. Just when you look at these moves, and I just don't know how impactful the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be. Are they going to go out and make a big move? And we saw, unfortunately, the big news today for the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know if you guys saw this, but very, very sad news when it came to Dominic James. Dominic James, surgery for a lower body injury. He's going to be out 8 to 10 weeks. He's been placed on IR. Gage Gonsalves day-to-day with a lower body injury. We know Nick Paul is out as well. We know Connor Geekie was called up from Syracuse. The Lightning are back in action tonight. So we'll see what happens with the Bolts here in the next 24 hours or so. Do they make a move to bring in another forward? People have been saying that they could be in the market for a right-handed shot defenseman. Eric Erlinson said as much on the program yesterday. But if you bring in another defenseman, what does that mean for your team? He's going to have to play with Victor Hedman, right? Like, think about this. If you bring in a right-handed shot defenseman, are you getting rid of Radish or Chernak? No. Are you going to get rid of their partners, Moser and McDonough? No. You're not getting rid of Victor Hedman. So, and then you're going to take Charles Ward-Destu out of the lineup, who's been one of your better defensemen all year long. That's the thing, is if you're going to go out and get a big right-handed defenseman, like I know Simon Nemec, the high draft pick of the New Jersey Devils, the people are talking about possibly him being moved. If you move Nemec and you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning as a possible candidate, that means a big name's going to have to go out. Because you're not going to just bring him in here and then have Dastu and Lilleberg and Crozier and Carlisle on the sidelines. That's not the way it goes. You're going to have to get a defenseman going out the other way. Now, could it be one of those guys? Maybe. And I know Utah, and Good pickup by Steve. Utah went ham for Mackenzie Weegar. And listen, we have our thoughts on Mackenzie Weegar here in the Tampa Bay area because of his time with the Florida Panthers. But Utah going for, I like that. I listen, when we get around to the trade deadline, and I say this all the time, I want to see as many deals as humanly possible. As many as humanly possible. We watch sports for the entertainment. We watch sports as an escape from reality. People take it too serious. Oh, this is too much and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, who cares, man? Go out there and make the deals. Go for it. I want to see teams go for it at this time of the year. No guts, no glory. A couple of years ago, the Rangers went out and they got Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko. I was like, man, this is going to be it. Look out. Watch these guys. They ended up losing in the first round to Jack Hughes and the Devils. But it's like, you want to see him go for it. Didn't everybody love when the Lightning went out there and they got Blake Coleman and they got Barclay Goodrow? Yeah, man. Fuck yeah, that's great. I want to see it again. I want to see him make a big move. I hope so. Sometimes you have to make a move and you kind of shake things up a little bit. I know a lot of teams don't want to make drastic decisions, and I know a lot of times this isn't fantasy hockey, and we're not, it's easy to play armchair quarterback and GM for your couch. I get that. I really do. But, man, it is fun. It is fun. And I would love to see something across my ticker and say the Lightning are trading. That's the great thing about hockey, too. You'll see some of these crazy moves that you won't see in the NFL. You'll see 2 guys get traded from one team to another, and then 3 guys coming back. Like, you see whole lines move. God, I hope we see something like that. Fortune favors the bold, baby. Go for it. All right. We have our guy, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, joining us here momentarily. But I wanted to get to something when it came to the Tampa Bay Rays. And there was a warning shot fired from Kevin Cash yesterday. And I don't know if you guys saw this. And of course, we're showing love to our guy, Mark Topkin from the Tampa Bay Times. And Cash said, as of Junior Caminero, we need to get him to the postseason. It could be pretty exciting to watch him because he certainly brightens up the brighter the lights. And we know how good Junior Caminero is. He's just so freaking exciting. But the thing that stood out to me yesterday, and I want you guys to listen to me when I'm saying this. This is from Kevin Cash via Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times. Again, support local. Ed Encina joins us at 1:30 today. We've got to start playing a little bit better baseball. We're not doing many things well. We're not pitching. We're not playing defense. And our hitting is not that great either. We're having too many sloppy innings that one error turns into 2 or 3 runs. That's generally not us. So we've got time, but we've got to start turning some things in a better direction. There is a lot of discussion when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays right now, as far as the future goes, as far as what the stadium could look like and, what impact it's going to have on the Tampa area. But I got to be completely honest with you. This team has not been great the last couple of years. And their bread and butter, the pitching and defense, has been woeful, dreadful. And I'm talking about dreadful according to the standards that the Tampa Bay Rays have set for themselves, not necessarily industry standard, because, listen, they're going to be better than most teams. But if this is what you pride yourself on, you can't just be half-assed, mediocre, middle of the pack. It just can't happen. My worry about the Tampa Bay Rays is that organizationally, I don't think they do a good enough job of developing these players. We talk about, they've been drafting at the end of the first round and blah, blah, blah. Like, baseball's so different. You have 20 rounds. You have 20 rounds and you're drafting from high school. You're drafting from college. You're signing international free agents. There's so many more ways to construct a roster in Major League Baseball than any of the other sports. So I don't want to hear the excuse of, they're drafting late because they've played so well and they've done so well. They have not won a World Series. They've been to 2. They're getting farther and farther away from 2020. When I look at this Tampa Bay Rays team, we speak about identity a lot. What is the identity of the Rays? Don't tell me what they want their identity to be. Don't tell me what the identity of this team was when they've been in their heyday. Tell me what this team's identity is right now in 2026. What is the identity of the Tampa Bay Rays? It's Junior Caminero and fingers crossed for Shane McClanahan and hoping that Jonathan Aranda can duplicate his performance and we see some of these young guys kind of step to the forefront. What is it? What is the identity of the Tampa Bay Rays in 2026? Because if you hear their manager, Kevin Cash, questioning the pitching, questioning the defense, like those are the things that are supposed to be ahead of the curve. The hitting is supposed to come at the end. The pitchers have a distinct advantage in the beginning because they're going out and they're leaving it all out there for 2 or 3 innings. Those guys are bucking it up to 95, 96. They're ready to roll. The hitters, it's supposed to take a little time. The Rays are not doing anything well right now. When's the last time you heard a Major League Baseball manager talk about his team needs to play better in spring training? Usually they're the guys that are just kind of quelching a lot of those fears, saying, hey, it's just the regular season isn't for a couple of weeks. Guys are just kind of working the kinks out. We're working on certain things offensively, defensively. I mean, it's very rare to hear what Kevin Cash had to say yesterday. And if we're heading down that same road of the Rays just kind of being mediocre in the AL East, what does that mean for the future of Kevin Cash? What does that mean for the future of Eric Neander? I really feel like we are just so stuck. And this kind of goes back to the discussion I was just saying a little while ago. We get so stuck in looking back at what brought a player or what brought a team success that we have our hooks in that time. And we do not analyze the here and now. We don't forecast what we think is going to happen in the future based on the most recent example and evidence. The recent example and evidence tells us that the Rays are not going to be good in 2026. They're going to be hovering around 500 or slightly under 500. So many things have to go well for them to be successful. That's not being pessimistic. That's just judging by what I've seen the last couple of seasons and by what the manager is telling us in spring training. All of the optimism right now surrounding the Tampa Bay Rays has everything to do with the future and very little to do with the present. Their presence right now is bothering me. It's certainly not a present. It's not a gift from what we're hearing from Kevin Cash. But again, the optimism is coming from the future, not from the present. That's scary going into the season because now is when the optimism should be at an all-time high when it comes to your team. Everybody's 0-0. That's what everybody loves to say. But right now, the best player for the Tampa Bay Rays is playing for the Dominican. And this is a time where other people are going to get opportunities. Other people are going to get at-bats. And are they making the most of them? Outside of a guy like Jacob Melton, I don't really see that. I don't see these young players stepping up. I don't see these young players really stepping to the forefront and making a big impact. That's not just on them. That's on the organization as a whole. And before we get to Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, we got to show some incredible love to our guy Richie P with the $50 super chat. Richie, my God, man. Thank you so much, my brother. What's up, sir? Hope all is well. I haven't heard anything about Gene Deckerhoff's replacement. What if they put that out for a competition/open audition? I can't even imagine who could be our next Gene or Gordon Soley. I love you, buddy. You know, right to my heart, mentioning a pro wrestling reference. Richie, incredibly humbled, buddy. Thank you so much for the super chat. You don't know how much that means to me. Gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. All I can say, the grapevine is paying for. I'm glad, man. I'm happy for you, my brother. Thank you. And to kind of answer your question from Benny here, isn't TJ Reeves taking over play-by-play for the Bucks? That's not 100%. But if you ask me who I think the favorite is, I think it should be TJ Reeves. I think it will be TJ Reeves. He did a great job of filling in for Gene the one game he couldn't make last year. And you want to be able to see teams and organizations promote from within. That would be great. I would love that. I think TJ's been waiting patiently. I think it's a guy that's been in the Buccaneers organization for a while. I really, again, my fingers are crossed for TJ Reeves. I really hope he gets that job. The real question, and no, Dave Moore's the analyst, so he wouldn't be the play-by-play guy. The real question is, if TJ gets promoted, who gets the sideline gig for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? That may be the better question. You don't have to thank me, bro. You know I bring the heat sometimes, just me voice. I love it, buddy. I love it, and I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate your service. You are the man, and I know you always support local. And speaking of supporting local, I mean, we love to support local here on our show. Let's bring him in. We appreciate you waiting. The one and only Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Doc, the facial hair looks good, buddy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Looking sharp.
My wife's not a big fan.
No, it's so funny how our facial hair is usually like indicative of what our significant other cares, right? Like, so she's not a fan?
No.
Why? Because of the
bezos? She likes a clean look. Yeah, she likes a clean look. I look a little older.
She wants to keep you young, Doc. She wants to keep you young. How's your week been, buddy?
It's been good. It's been a good week. I'm actually off tomorrow, and for the weekend, I'm heading down to play baseball.
No, where?
In Fort Myers.
Nice. So what is that? Is it a tournament?
It's a senior tournament. My brother got me roped into it. I haven't played baseball since probably college.
Oh, my God.
It's been a long time, and he roped me into this, signed me up, and said, hey, I'm coming, and I need you to be on the team. So I'm like, okay, I'll play.
Oh, my gosh. All right,
so
Doc.
I've been hitting the batting cage and throwing, and so it's fun.
Doc, who's like, where are you going to bat in the lineup? Doc, what position are you going to play? Do you know any of this stuff?
I have no idea. They have me down playing either first on the outfield. So I was fielding some fly balls. I was fielding some ground balls. I told my brother I'll play DH.
Oh, man, Doc, you got to give us an update. So how many games do you play?
We play one Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, and 1 Monday.
Oh my, it's a full week, man. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Is it, so you said it's senior. What's the age?
We're doing the over 50 group.
Nice, man. Doc, that's going to be great. Make sure you stretch, all right, buddy? Make sure you stretch.
I will. Make sure I don't get hit by a ball.
Is it wood bat or aluminum bat?
Wood bat.
Oh, man, you're going authentic here, Doc. Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you. That's going to be great. If you hit a home run, make sure somebody takes a video. I want full video.
I highly doubt it, but I'll send you a video.
Doc, you know, we always support local. We always show so much love to Evara Health. 17 different locations there in Pinellas County. And, you know, we're always talking about our local crew and our Tampa Bay Lightning, man. They just can't. You got season tickets, you know. These guys just can't seem to avoid the injury bug this year. And John Cooper was kind of upset the other day. It's just like you get guys back. You get Anthony Cirelli and Braden Point back, and then you lose a couple of guys. Just give me anything you got on the Bolts, man. It seems like a mash unit for these guys this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had 2 big injuries against the Sabres. A big 6-2 loss. I mean, lost Goncalves, undisclosed lower extremity injury. He got checked onto the boards, slid in. So whether it's a contusion or sprain, to me, maybe more of a contusion. He's listed to be out just for a couple of days or a couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect him maybe just to miss 2-3 games on this road trip and then be back on it. I mean, looking at the injury on the video, I think to me it's more maybe a mild sprain or a contusion, whether it's the ankle or the knee. I don't think it's anything major. Dominic James, on the other hand, I think he could have a significant contusion or sprain because not only did he get checked into the boards, but a player fell on him too, twisting the leg even a little bit more during the same game. So he was cross-checked onto the boards, felt awkward. Another player fell on it. So I'm thinking that's more of a sprain, could be a knee sprain. So he could be out a little longer, maybe out for this road trip.
Well, hold on, Doc.
Once we get home.
And there's some breaking news on Dominic James, and it just happened. I know you were working it. He just underwent surgery yesterday for a lower body injury. So he's going to be out 8 to 10 weeks. Going to be back hopefully sometime around the middle of May. So judging by that, and again, this just came out a little bit less than, or it was probably earlier today. So I didn't see necessarily time. So
looking at that, an MCL injury probability. I mean, MCLs rarely need surgery, but if you're looking at about 8 weeks out, that would make sense if it's an MCL type injury, because any other ligament in the knee is going to be a lot longer. And ligament around the ankle is a possibility. So maybe if you had a mild sprain or tear or some of the small ligaments in the ankle, that maybe another 8-week type time frame injury. Anything other than that, I mean, anything major ligament would be close to 6 months to a year, so you would be out for the season. So I'm thinking maybe an MCL or a small ligament in the ankle.
Yeah, it sucks, man. And and like I just said, you get Braden Point and Anthony Cirelli back, and it's crazy to see him back after the Olympic break, right, Doc? It must have killed them not to play in the Olympics, because they were able to come back pretty quick after the break.
Yeah. I mean, but Point was injured and Cirelli a month or so before the Olympics. So you had a month leading to the Olympics and the 2 weeks of the Olympics. So a good 6-week period of time for recovery. So no surprise that they were back right after the Olympics, and they've looked really good.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy too. And I think that's we didn't really experience it that much here, but I look at Kevin Fiala for the Los Angeles Kings. They send him out there. He gets hurt for Switzerland. He's out for the year. And that's kind of the risk, right, Doc? When you go to these international competitions where you go out there and as much as you want to say, hey, this is great, and patriotism and all these different things, right? The injury risk is a real thing, isn't it? And listen, the countries ain't paying them millions of dollars. It's their clubs back home.
That's right. And that's the big, that's a concern from the clubs and the owners, right? So I'm putting my asset at risk. I'm putting my player at risk because they can get hurt in those games, because they're as competitive. Like they're exhibition games. They're very competitive games. Yeah. So that's the risk. And that's why a lot of teams want the players to be insured when they're going to these competitions. And I don't know, like the World Baseball Classic is coming up. And some of the things that were a little controversial, say for the Puerto Rico team, where a player like Lindor was not going to be allowed to play because of age, because you couldn't really insure him if he got hurt. Same thing with Correa. If he got hurt, you couldn't really insure him. So the teams don't want to take that risk. In the younger ones, you're able to insure them. So if something happens, at least you can recoup some of the cost of that player missing games or missing the season. I mean, to me, it's also the same risk that players are taking in soccer. So we see all these international games and all these cups and all these different things that the players are undertaking outside of their team. And that's a risk that teams take and players take when they're joining these competitions outside of the regular league.
Yeah, I try to explain that to my friends that aren't as privy to what happens in soccer. And they go, they play for their team in their country at the same time. I go, their leagues take 2 weeks off for international breaks in the middle of their season. And people are like, holy smokes. And I'm like, that's just the way it is. I mean, it means that much more. There'll never be a sport that prioritizes playing for their country more than soccer, because it's already built into the infrastructure of their schedule.
Exactly.
It's never going to be like that.
Year after year, it's built into it. I mean, you have the international breaks. You have the World Cup preparation matches, the European Cup preparation matches. That's all built into the schedule. Now, I'm not privy to what kind of insurance they take on their players when they're participating in those competitions. Right. Like, is it the same way as we do here? Or is that part of the contract on the player? Or is there some sort of compensation that UEFA provides in case, or FIFA in case something happens?
Yeah, it's a great point. What you just mentioned, the World Baseball Classic, and we're starting to see it now, and some of the teams here are playing exhibitions like Dominican Republic and the USA. And you mentioned the insurance, and it's crazy for a guy like Francisco Lindor that's been relatively healthy throughout his career. And then you have Carlos Correa, who, even at a younger age with Houston, part of the reason why they didn't bring him back is because he has that history of back injuries. And we know kind of the poster boy for this is Edwin Diaz, who got hurt a couple of years ago, celebrating after a win. So he was out for the entire year for the New York Mets. So we understand kind of, what risk you take when you play for a tournament like this. But I want to ask you, Doc, who does it better as far as when the tournament is played? And I'm not talking about just the general risk, because heck, guys can get hurt falling out of the shower. You know what I mean? Like you guys can get hurt walking across the street. We know that. But as far as the way hockey does it in the middle of the season, middle to the back end of the season, versus baseball in the World Baseball Classic before the season, which do you think is better as far as kind of mitigating the amount of injuries that you could see?
I mean, certainly, I think towards the end of the season, well, I think there's
Is it different for each sport? Do you think it's different?
I think there's advantage and disadvantage to either way. So
Mhm.
if you look at, say, baseball, it's kind of part of the World Baseball Classic. It's really part of spring training, if you really look at it. So you're still getting people used to their position and warming up and all this. So and to me, the World Baseball Classic, even though there's a lot of patriotism involved with it, to me, it feels more like an exhibition type competition, as opposed to, say, the Olympics. I think it's a lot more intense. I think there's a lot more involved in there. When it comes to hockey, they did it in the middle of the season. I think that's actually really good because you've already had a good time to prepare yourself, be ready. Risk is that players can be hurt during the season and now miss the tournament. And then the risk is patients get hurt in the middle of the season, and now they're done for the rest of the season. So I think there's advantage and disadvantage of it. I think it all depends on the perspective that you have on it. I think it also happens on timing. I mean, the Winter Olympics happen at a certain time of the year. It's in the middle of hockey season, so you can't really move the season around the Olympics or the Olympics around the season. So that's just the way it happens. Things like the Baseball Classic, can it happen at the end of the season? Well, I think that's a little more risky because players could be a little more worn down. There's injuries that happen. You're exposing them to a longer term of season. For the right now, where you're doing it as part of preseason and spring training, you're not really lengthening the amount of time that they're playing.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think something that factors into it as well is just the overall physicality of it, right? I mean, if you had big starting pitchers and physicality in different ways, right? And I'm talking about physicality of hockey, where it's probably good that you're not ramping up too early in the season because guys might get hurt that way, right? So there's almost like you're kind of building up maybe some kind of a callus, right? For about lack of a better word, of like you're used to the physical contact and you go to the Olympics and then come right back, versus baseball, where I think it's good as pitchers because there is a somewhat of a pitch count as well. Guys aren't, just, all right, they've already thrown 105 innings and now they're going and they're trying to go balls to the wall for their country in the middle of the season. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if anybody's ever talked about that in that relation, that juxtaposition, but that's what we do here on the Ever Health Injury Report. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez and I, we figure this kind of stuff out. I saw an interesting injury from McLean from the Mets. I mean, this is a young man that he's got his entire world in front of him, but he's dealing with vertigo, isn't he, Doc?
Yeah, he's been having. He just had actually surgery, right, for a labral tear. So he's now dealing with vertigo. Now, most commonly is what we call benign positional vertigo. It's a temporary condition. What happens is you have balance and motion sensors in your middle ear, and what happens is one of the what we call them otoliths. They're little stones in your motion area falls into your balance area. The balance area is just full of liquid. So when one of these stones falls into the area where there's liquid, the stone spins the fluid. So whenever you turn your head in a certain direction or turn in a certain way, the little stone makes the fluid spin, and you feel dizzy, like if you had just been spun on a chair.
Wow!
And then until the fluid stops spinning, and then you feel okay, until you have that motion again and the fluid spins again. Eventually, the little stone falls back into the place and falls back into the sac where it needs to be at, and the issue goes away. There are certain medicines that can help a little bit with the vertigo. There are certain maneuvers that you can do to try to help the little stone fall back in place. But most of the time, it usually resolves on its own.
So where does this happen, Doc?
It's in your middle ear. It's inside.
Middle ear. So there's a stone that goes into the liquid. That's
So-
what does it?
So yeah, there's something called the utricle, which is basically your motion is how you sense if you're moving forward or going up
Okay.
and down. That's full of little stones, and those
Okay.
stones move little hairs inside that utricle that make you feel motion.
Okay.
Your balance canals, which are basically 3 little loops, those are filled with fluid. When
Okay.
you spin and turn your head, the fluid spins to let you know that things are spinning. But so what happens is they're connected. So sometimes one of the little otolith, the little
Okay.
rock, falls into the fluid area and starts, when you move, starts spinning the fluid, and the fluid spins and makes you feel like you're spinning. So you get
Mhm.
vertigo. And eventually that little otolith falls back in place and then it goes away.
Talk to me about figure skaters that are able to do these incredible
Yeah.
spins and not
get dizzy.
get dizzy, Doc, because I think it again, I'm fascinated with figure skaters because
Yeah.
of my lineage and my great grandparents in Switzerland. But man, just to see some of these spins, and it's not even talking about the jumps and the spins, but just some of the choreographed spins that they do where they're spinning so fast for 5 to
Right.
10 seconds. I mean, how are they able to do that and then just continue on and finish their program as if nothing ever happened? Where if the majority of the people on this planet do something like that, they're going to look like they just drank a fifth of tequila. So it's
Yeah.
fascinating to me.
So part of that is training. As your body gets used to the spinning and the motion of spinning, there's some adaptation that occurs as to the feel of spinning. Second, when they're spinning, they're focusing on a spot. So when you spin and focus on a spot, your brain takes a little bit over your sense of motion and sense of position. So it overrides the spinning in your ear. So there's some training and adaptations that happen to it, and then it's really focusing on a spot as you're turning. If you turn and you continue to see things turning around you without a focus, that makes it harder for the brain to say, okay, we're not spinning anymore. Let's go now on a straight line. So a lot of it has to do with training and the fact that they've done it so many times that they're able to adapt real quick from a lot of spinning to just straight motion. Whether any of us, I mean, you spin me on a chair or I spin you on a chair and tell you to walk a straight line, you're going to be falling sideways.
I mean, this is just another one of those things. I think we come up with this every couple of conversations, Doc, where the body truly is an amazing thing with how it is able to adapt to its surroundings, and you've heard many years about like kind of the nurture versus nature conversation. And it's kind of wild, right, Doc? How like you would any normal person that, let's say a person has never seen figure skating before in their life and they're watching somebody and they're spinning and they're like, how the heck did they do that? It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I for a long time you were watching and you wonder the same thing. That person was spinning for about a minute, and then they go, whoop, skate in a straight line, do a jump, and not a problem. It's all training. It's all adaptation. It's how the brain connects to your middle ear and how things work. Whether a normal person, you put them on a spinning table and then you ask them to do something, they're not going to be able to do it. But eventually, if they get used to the spinning and they do that focusing on one point in space, they're going to eventually overcome the ear spin with the brain knowing I'm no longer spinning, I'm in a straight line now.
I love that. Doc, I wanted to ask you about Hunter Green, Reds right-hander. I got some friends that are Reds fans, and this is a team that a lot of people are wondering if they could take that next step this year. This young right-hander has got an incredible arm. Should Reds fans be worried about his injury?
Well, what he's reported, he has some elbow stiffness.
Okay.
He was scheduled to have an MRI and a surgical evaluation or orthopedic surgery to take a look at it. He started with this problem at the end of last season. In the last 5 to 6 starts, he was having the issues. I believe he had an injection done. I'm not sure what they did the injection, but he was feeling better. Cincinnati was doing the playoff push, so they were really trying to keep him out there. His symptoms return now in spring training. The reports are that he's mostly dealing with spurs, so he may need some sort of procedure just to clean the elbow up. It's reported that it's not anything related to the UCL, so not that he's going to have Tommy John surgery or anything of the sort. Whether he's going to be ready for the beginning of the season, I think is a little questionable. He may be more available towards the second, third week of the season if they do any sort of cleanup procedure at the elbow. I think it's going to be a little too close to have him there for the opening day.
Yeah, and they're going to need him because they need all hands on deck there in Cincinnati. All right, Doc, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about one of the best players in the world, Kylian Mbappe, Real Madrid. Incredible forward. I mean, this is a guy that, he's worth the price of admission. He's been a guy that's really lived up to and I think surpassed a lot of expectations when he was able to come up through Monaco and then PSG and now Real Madrid. What do we know about him and his status? Because we know that as much as they love to win La Liga, Champions League football is all about it for them. How worried should Real fans be about his injury?
So he's dealing with the hamstring injury. So we've talked about hamstrings before. Yeah. So usually we talked about 2 to 3 weeks, closer to 18 to 23 days average recovery time. He's younger, so he may have a little better recovery time. Again, there's a risk of re-injury if you've had a hamstring injury, so they got to be careful as they bring him back. They got to make sure he's got a good rehabilitation process. So I would say a minimum of 4 weeks out is usually what's recommended. If you compare this to other soccer players that have had similar injuries, that's about the time frame for recovery and return to play. So he's going to be missed for at least 3 to 4 games.
One of the best players in the world in soccer. How much different is the recovery when it comes to because they have to run so often, right? Like, I mean, that's why we talk about that with receivers for football, but like soccer, it's even crazier to think about how many miles these guys run.
So not only is the distance, it shows how explosive things are. So they go from real slow to real fast in a second, right? Because you got a sprint, there's a ball thrown at you, a pass, and you got to now go for a sprint, especially his position where he's a forward. So he's really got to get up there as fast as he can to the ball. So that's why in soccer, you have to be a little bit careful when these players return, just because of the explosive motion of the game. A little different in baseball. Notice because, I mean, most of the sprinting happens in between bases, but most of the time it's not a huge sprint unless you're really chasing a fly ball out in the outfield. But it's certainly soccer. There's a lot of sprinting, a lot of distance that happens. And if you look at it, most of these hamstring injuries occur in a long pass, and the forward's just sprinting all out to try to get to the ball, and out goes the hamstring. So there's the risk of it. So certainly a sport like soccer, just like a wide receiver in football, where there's a lot of explosive motion, is going to be at a higher risk of re-injury.
Yeah, that's why I loved baseball, because I only had to run 90 feet and then 90 feet and then 90 feet and then 90 feet. I went to go try out for soccer one time, and I met up with the coach, and I'm like, "Hey, coach," I'm like, "Where's the team?" He's like, "You see that small group of people out there?" I was like, "They look like they're 5 miles away." He goes, "Yeah, that's them." I go, "Coach, thanks for talking to me. Appreciate you." And I went back inside. I was like, "That's not for me. I'm not a big runner guy."
It's certainly
not for the faint of heart. Not for the faint of heart.
It's a lot of running. My son played soccer, and he was a forward, and I always was like, "Why can't you get back on defense?" And we did a parents, kids game, and I was like, "Oh, this is a big field." I'm used to playing basketball where I'm in a little court, and I'm like, "Oh boy, this is a long distance to cover."
A lot different than 200 feet on a basketball court, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, our weekly Ever Health Injury Report. Doc, best of luck this weekend on Monday. Just stay locked in the middle, man. Keep working the middle of the field. Make sure you stretch. All right, don't get hurt.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna be doing this. First thing we're gonna talk about during the injury report next Thursday is how you're feeling, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll make sure I have no injuries.
That's right. That's right. Because if not, you'll have to fill in you have to email me first, and I'll email you back with the injury report. Doc, you're the best, man. Have a great weekend. Have a safe trip.
You too. Thank you.
All right, buddy. The great Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Man, I hope they would live stream those games. I would pay money to watch Doc out there. Line drive. He's going to do well. I know it. I feel it in my gut. He's going to do well. All right, guys, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe as well. Speaking of soccer, Lewis Hilton is going to join us here momentarily. Tampa Bay Rowdies midfielder, the season opener on Saturday night. But first, let me tell you more about Evara Health. You just heard from Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. He's such a kind soul, such a great guy. He's the kind of guy that you want to work with, you want to trust when it comes to your medical. And that's how everybody is over there at Evara Health. Go to everahealth.org, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. He works at the High Point location. I can't say enough things about our friends there. Sorry, just making sure I'm not missing any breaking news here. Again, everhealth.org. They want to take care of you from the cradle to the grave. They have a sliding scale for the uninsured. They take any kinds of insurance. And I know that's the big thing now with healthcare, right? It's a big topic of conversation. These are the type of guys and gals that you really want to work with. Again, head over to the website. It is incredible. It's thorough. There's a lot that is going on there. Everahealth.org. Somebody heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. And then also, of course, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and your commercial needs. My guy, Russ, right here. Got the business card right here next to me always. The owner, licensed general contractor, CGC 153-1166, thehonesthammer.com, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. I went over to one of the new builds that they had last week in St. Pete. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. And again, it's not just your house, it's your home. And you want to be able to trust guys like this. And Russ was, kind of taking me through things when you're getting kitchen equipment brought in, and there was a bunch of guys. It was just really, really cool how thorough he is, and he doesn't ever take shortcuts, and the communication is always top notch, and he always wants people to know what's going on. It's got to be terrifying dealing with some of the contractors out there. And again, you feel at home when a guy like Russ is working on your home. So thehonesthammer.com, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Something you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Get you a discount. And look at this. And again, a big thank you to our guy Richie P for the $50 super chat, the biggest super chat that we've ever had here on the podcast. Richie, thank you again, buddy. I can't thank you enough. And then our guy Rolly, Lady Evil, Dr. Rodriguez, always awesome and informative. Thank you, Rolly. You are the best, our rock and roll correspondent. Richie, you got to be a correspondent too, buddy. You let me know what you want to be a correspondent of, and you are definitely in. But thank you again, Rolly, Lady Evil. Go check them out on all social media platforms as well. Everyday Eddie Encina is going to join us at 1:30. We're going to talk a little Lou Holtz at 1:20 after Lewis Hilton joins us. We lost one of the true characters in sports. And again, I can't stress this enough and listen, I say this as many times and as often as I do because I love sports. It's everything to me. It really is. But we also have to keep it in perspective, right? We got to keep it in perspective that it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be entertaining. We shouldn't take it too serious, right? We got to enjoy it. Enjoy it when we can, instead of losing our mind over it. And I think just every once in a while, it's good to remember that. And of course, I wanted to point something out as well. 3 years ago today, we lost a good friend and a guy that most certainly would have been on our show. Dave Wills passed away 3 years ago today. And, it's crazy too, because it is, and thank you, Benny, it is Neil Solon's birthday. And he's going to share that day forever with the day that we lost Dave. But Dave was one of those guys, man, that I went to before I ever got a chance to do any type of play-by-play work. I made sure to reach out to the best of the best. And I sat there with Rich Hollenberg, and I sat down with Dave Mishkin and Dave and Andy at dinner before one of the games at Tropicana Field. I sat at their table with the rest of the Rays radio crew, and I picked their brain. And he was just, a guy that really loved and enjoyed the game of baseball, and such an iconic name and an iconic voice here locally. I miss him to this day. And when you hear some of those classic Rays highlights from some of their bigger moments in their history, it's him. And I'm glad, Neil, again, we just spoke about TJ Reeves getting elevated to Gene Deckerhoff's spot. Again, it's not set in stone yet. I don't think it's been announced. For a fact, I know it hasn't been announced, but I'm just hoping that that's the decision that they make. I hope that they go with him. because you saw that, that's the way to do it. Promote from within, keep it local, support local. Can't say that enough. Nobody's more local than the Jay Recher podcast. Need any more evidence? Just look at all the teams that are represented behind me, high school, college, pros. That's how we roll right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at Jay Recher. Again, rowdysoccer.com. You can get all your tickets. The home opener is on the 21st. And then we'll go from there. Dave Moore is not going to be the play-by-play guy. He is going to be the analyst guy, and whoever the play-by-play guy is will work with Dave Moore. All right, we know that Rowdy Soccer, we can't wait for the home opener in a couple of weeks, but the season starts this week, and we are going to talk with what I call the engine, the heartbeat of this dang team, the one and only Lewis Hilton. What's going on, brother? How are you?
What's up, Jay? How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see you. We're getting closer and closer. I know off-season training, you guys work your way up, playing a little bit more, What is it like to know that you're just a couple of days away from getting this thing rolling this season?
Yeah, so excited. Yeah, honestly, you obviously finished the season back in October, November, and at that point, you're kind of like, all right, a couple of weeks off, like you enjoy it, but after like a week or so, you're like, all right, I'm ready to play again. So it's a long off season, but yeah, no better feeling than getting out there and competing with your teammates. So yeah, just so excited to get back out there and compete for 3 points on Saturday.
It's going to be a different look this year, right? This team is completely different, and it's going to be the first time in a while where we're not going to see a Forrest, we're not going to see a Leo, we're not going to see Aaron Guillen out there. I called you guys the core four for many, many years. I mean, what is that going to be like to be able to take the pitch on this weekend and not have those guys out there with you?
Yeah, no, the years that I played with those guys, they were all unbelievable players and great people, and there was a reason why they were at this club for so long. But like you said, it's kind of a new era, a group of players, and we've got a handful of new leaders that will become those mainstays that you recognize week in, week out, and the quality of this group and the personalities, the leadership. Yeah, there's new guys to come in to big shoes to fill, but the personalities and the quality of player that we have, it will soon be recognizable names just like those guys you mentioned.
What about your focus going into the season? I know they're, just dealing with some of the injury bug a little bit last year and, not being able to play, because you're a guy that, if you're going to go, you're going to go, and you're going to go, and you're going to go. And you don't want to play 45. You don't want to play 60. You want to play the full 90 plus, and you want to go 100 miles an hour. And I know you're a guy that if you can't do that, it's kind of tough to because that's your game, man. And you're outworking everybody. How frustrating was that to not be able to play as much as you wanted to last season? And then what's the mindset going into this year for yourself?
Yeah, no, I think anyone that knows me knows how much I love playing, and I just want to be out there on the field. So yeah, it's frustrating, but it's something you deal with as a professional athlete. Every player goes through it at some point, and as tough as it is, you try to make the most of these experiences and learn from it, and try to take what you can from them. And for me personally, I'm feeling really good this preseason, and personally just want to stay healthy, and I know if I'm healthy, then I'll be able to help the team, and that's my main goal this year, is just to be available, and it's kind of up to the coaching staff in what capacity I'm used. So all I can do is be available, and hopefully kind of put last year behind us, and looking forward, and like you said, just really excited to get going on Saturday.
Coach Casiato, I got a chance to talk to him a lot, last year, and really in depth about like what was going on. And he was talking to me about the changes, and he kind of gave me a heads up, like changes were coming, and now it's with the group so much different. What have you noticed from him coming in and, being a guy that, it's not easy to take over a club in the middle of the season. What do you notice different from him when like you first met him with that group, and then now with a full preseason behind you now, as you go forward to a brand new, year with him at the helm?
Yeah, I think coming in halfway through a season brings its own challenges, and like you said, the group was kind of a little bit all over the place with what was thrown at us last year. But yeah, Dom's done an unbelievable job recruiting. Firstly, the group of guys that we have, the personalities that we have in the locker room. It's just been, it's been so enjoyable to be a part of this group so far this preseason. And I'm just excited for everyone to see what we've kind of been seeing. I know the fans have seen glimpses at games, but what I've seen week in, week out for preseason so far, it's just incredibly exciting. Dom's done a really good job, firstly, getting those players in. And then also Dom is a really intense guy that he's desperate to win. So he's pushing this group as much as possible, and got a really kind of deep roster of talent, and guys are, like I said, everyone wants to play every minute. So, but only 11 can be on the field. So it's just kind of creating that culture of guys have got to earn their jersey, and whoever deserves to play will be selected. And yeah, I think if you're able to train like that throughout the week, it builds really good habits going into those games.
You know how much I love you guys and the badge and the club. And last year, I've been one of your biggest supporters since I've been working here in sports media the last 12 years. And a lot of people asked me last year what was going on with you guys. And I just said, like, this is the exception. Like, you just don't have years like this, because the Rowdies are just one of those clubs that whatever league, whether it's the NASL or the USL, like, they're involved. They're in the thick of things, even if they're not having a great year. But last year, just seeming like anything that could have went wrong. And you just want to be able to write that year off. Yeah. But the one thing that really stood out, Lewis, was Ralph's mob and the whole crew. Like, there was a lot of people still at those games. I was at the last home match, and I'm like, man, they don't care. Like, you guys battled to the end, because there was still a sliver of a chance that you guys were going to make the playoffs, even though the year wasn't your year. But man, the support was just absolutely incredible. What can you say about the supporters of the Rowdies?
Yeah, no, it's what makes this club so special is the fans that come out every week. It's unbelievable the support we get. And the years I've been here, this community has just been amazing to me. But again, through thick and thin, it's easy to support a team when we were lifting trophies a few years ago. But yeah, when last year you have like a bit of turbulence and coaches changes and results not going the way we want. And like you said, we're dealing with different injuries with important players. And yeah, to see the support that we did, it was like, I can't stress how much we appreciate it. And I hope this season we can kind of repay them with more good, enjoyable moments that, they can come out of Ao Lang on a Saturday night feeling a lot better than maybe some of the nights last year.
Yeah, no doubt. And shout out to the Skyway Casuals as well.
Absolutely.
Lewis, how close are you keeping an eye on any of the European soccer that's going on, man?
I watch it all and any soccer, yeah.
Dude, I so mad, me being a United fan yesterday watching them lose to Newcastle 2-1. I mean, it's really the only sport that I can watch and really be a fan of, because I cover everything else. You know what I mean? So it's just I get to watch La Liga, I get to watch the Bundesliga, and I get to watch the Premier League. And it's weird, because then I'm like, all right, I got to get back into it. I got to start covering sports again. What is that like for you and the other guys? Is everybody else like watching and talking about it as well, or people jabbing each other for who they're supporting and things like that?
Yeah. No, you got guys from all over. So there's a lot of good banter going on in the locker room. Obviously, you got Maxi, who's German. He's a Cologne/Leverkusen fan.
Okay.
Louis Perez, who's a PSG fan. Obviously, I'm a West Ham fan. Evan Conway's a Spurs fan. So yeah, there's a lot of good banter going on, and it's enjoyable. But it's good. There's a lot of good soccer to watch, and that United game yesterday was crazy. Unbelievable way to end that game, by the way.
I know.
United should have probably tucked it away. But yeah, things are looking a little better for them in recent weeks.
What is it about when you go a man down like that, where everybody thinks that, all right, well, it's 11 versus 10, right? It should be easy. The other team should dominate the ball, but it doesn't always happen like that. What is it about? Is it just simply, hey, you got nothing to lose? right? How does a team like Newcastle, and listen, they were missing some of their better players, especially like Bruno Guimaraes, who's, their guy in the middle there that, trying to controls things in the midfield like Bruno Fernandes does for Manchester United. What happens when you go down to 10 men like that, where sometimes it just seems like you're the team with the advantage? How the heck does that happen?
Yeah, it's just like a mindset shift. I guess it's kind of like, especially, I think Newcastle probably felt a little hard done by the 2 yellow cards, and
that second yellow was rough.
Yeah, but yeah, you can argue it, I guess.
What did you think about that? Because for those who don't know, was it Jacob Murphy?
Ramsey.
Jacob Murphy. Oh, Ramsey. Okay, Murphy came on later. Ramsey, second yellow for a simulation, which was a dive where he was trying to draw a foul on Senan Lamens, the goalkeeper for Manchester United. We've seen a lot worse dives than that, but I felt like the referee was going to go in his pocket regardless. So, and I think he just kind of had to call it. It was weird. What did you think? What was your initial reaction? When you saw that?
think it's probably a yellow, but they probably just feel hard done by because you don't see them given too often.
Right.
Like you see that so many times where the attacker goes down and it just goes goal kick and you move on. I think United players kind of like made a bit of a deal of it, and I don't know if that put a bit of pressure on the referee. But yeah, I think it's just a mindset shift, and like you say, you got nothing to lose, and like when you go forward, like get an attack with 10 men, I feel like your attacking players just like they're more free to take risks, because if it doesn't come off, it's like, well, there's nothing really expected of you in those moments, and you're a man down, you're not got as much support, and you're kind of waiting for those individual moments to happen. And that's exactly example of that goal. Probably, I'm sorry, with 11 men, I don't know if he looks to shoot in that moment, and like they got nothing to lose, so he's like, I'm just going to put my foot through it, and it was a hell of a finish. But yeah, and sometimes when you have 11, it's the same thing. Mindset kind of shifts. It's like, they put 10 behind the ball, make it a little bit of a slower game, and you got to break them down. And sometimes it does like make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, you build up the frustration, and then you hit them on the counterattack, and that's all it takes. One step over, and then you bend one into the far side. It was absolutely incredible. I wanted to ask you about, when you were coming on today, the new offsides rule. Arsene Wenger has been kind of touting this the last couple of years, the iconic gaffer for Arsenal all those years, the leader of the Invincibles. And I originally, I'm always thinking of like, how do you get more scoring? How do you get it more entertaining? I don't think there should be like offside called like within the 18-yard box. Maybe like, I think there should maybe be another line. Like, I think it's weird that you're saying a guy that's offside when he's 2 feet from the goalkeeper. Like, I just think that would make it a little bit more fun, because in hockey they have the blue line, and if you're inside the blue line, there is no offside. So I feel like there could be an adaptation in soccer. Obviously, it would have to take a big change from around the world. But Arsene Wenger now has said that for offside, you're changing it to now not just one part is past the guy. You have to be completely past the guy to be offside. What do you make of that rule or possible rule change?
I think firstly, like the idea where you, on the face of it, you're thinking that you're giving the strikers the advantage. But what I think it will end up doing was making defenses just drop deeper and deeper, because you don't want to play a high line, because the attackers have more kind of area for like room for error with their timing their runs. They got bigger space to be onside. So I think it will just force defenses to sit deeper, and that will kind of make the game a little bit more boring. You want to see teams press high and they're spacing behind for the likes of like the exciting players, Haaland and Mbappe, the guys to run. You don't want teams sat on the top of the box, because it's no real fun to watch too much. And I think it's so hard to implement for leagues that don't have VAR. Yeah. Because it will be like they need daylight between the last defender. And if the attacker is the deepest man is far away from the attacker, how can the assistant official see that in that moment? I think it just causes, if you have VAR, you can like go back and look at it, and they have the computerized semi.
Right. Those things are crazy.
Easier. But I don't know how they would do that in like the USL. But they're actually trialing it in the Canadian Premier League. And they don't have VAR. So I'm very interested to see kind of like how it plays out, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's funny you talk about a high line. I remember there was a match a couple years ago. It was Tottenham against Chelsea, and that was when Ange Postecoglou was their guy, and he was just
They
saying
went down to 9
they
men.
went down to 9 guys.
Yeah.
Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And he just said, "Screw it, we're playing the high line," and they went offside, and then they eventually, I think they won like 4-1 or something like that. But it was just so cool to see a guy go, I am going to play this way, whether I have 11, 10, or 9 guys.
Yeah.
And you just saw the backline guys just press all the way up, and they would just stand there, and it was just, it didn't work for a while. Eventually, they were able to break through. I think it was Nicholas Jackson that scored.
In those moments, it's tough, but I think as a neutral, like you would much rather see teams be like aggressive on the front foot than watching like some of the teams like maybe like Arsenal currently. It's like it's tough to watch as a neutral and someone that you want to. If you're just watching a game to enjoy it, you want to see guys go toe for toe and like both teams want to win the game, you know, rather than trying not to lose it.
Oh my God, you just speak in my language, buddy. I feel like such a hater when I talk about Arsenal because it's like it's almost gotten to the point where me as a United fan, I wouldn't hate if City or Liverpool won because the way that Arsenal plays drives me nuts because it's like all they do, it's like the master of the dark arts, they say, with Mikel Arteta and these weird corners and free kicks where they don't really have anything like super planned. They're just going to have one of their center backs just run right into your goaltender. And it's just very strange. And now you're seeing, I think Glasner said something yesterday, the gaffer from Brighton. He's like, he's not, I think it was him or Hertzler. I got the Glasner's from Crystal Palace. But yeah, it's just like, I get it. And it's like they play every game like they're trying to survive. Yet this is the year that they're supposed to win because everybody else really is. There's no real other contender. And it's just like they're squeaking by and they're winning games at home 1-0. And it's like, what do you make of Arsenal? Because this is it should be joyous for them. I wish it was like for the years for Man City. You kind of tip your hat and you go like, bro, you're playing tiki-taka and then you're bringing in Holland and it's just like you win the treble. You can't hate on that. Like even as a United fan, you're like, you can't hate on that. But it's weird. It's just like the Arsenal's it's not very pleasing to watch.
No, if I take like my unbiased like football professional opinion, like if I was a coach, I respect Arsenal, extremely organized. Right. They are like you said, they're so organized on their set pieces. Defensively, they're so solid. They don't give up many chances. Their shape, the way they're like out of possession, they're very good. So like, I respect it. But as a football fan, my heart hates it. You know, like if I want to watch a game to enjoy it, like I'm like, I don't want to watch Arsenal. You know, and like you said, I think on other media they say that if you made a Premier League Team of the Year right now, there wouldn't be one Arsenal attacking player in it. And I think that kind of shows how they're kind of playing and how they're scoring their goals. It's not every other year in the Premier League, you see whether it's Hazard or David Silva or De Bruyne or Wayne Rooney. It's like guys that you just love watching. And for me right now, Arsenal don't really have guys like that and their style of play. But it's effective. And I suppose there's no right or wrong way to win games. But yeah, for entertainment factor, it's it's a little frustrating to watch.
Yeah, you're right. They probably wouldn't get into the top 11 when it comes to attacking players, but then you see Declan Rice and Saliba and Gabriel and probably David Raya. You're like, all right, probably it'd be hard to keep those
physically,
guys
they're so good. Physically, they're so good. Yeah.
All right, before I let you go, I want to ask you. I'll probably talk to you again before the World Cup, but in case I don't, who are some of the guys that you think should make it that are on the bubble? Because obviously we know. Guys like Jude will make it. Guys like Declan Rice will make it. Guys like, Harry Kane will make it. Saka. But when you look at the Anthony Gordons, when you look at Rashford's, when you look at a guy that I really love in Kobe Mainu, Harry Maguire. I mean, when you look at some of those fringe guys, who do you think should make it or will make it?
Yeah, it's tough because I think Tuchel is going to be pretty ruthless with
I do too.
So obviously Bellingham's got an injury, and I think like it won't put it past him to like if he's not healthy, like that he's not going to be he'll definitely go. But whether he's going to be starting, because you've got so many options with Foden, Cole Palmer, Morgan Rogers that can play in those positions. But yeah, I really like both Elliot Anderson and
Yes.
Adam Wharton. And I think that's an important position because I think Declan Rice is better kind of going a little further forwards. I think.
So is he like an 8 then? I mean, because I think at times they
Rice?
put him as a 6. Yeah.
Yeah, Rice. I think what he's good at is running with the ball, and he's so good physically, and he can get on the end of things. Like he's better kind of going in the final third, I think.
He's a unique player, isn't he? Because he's
he
a guy
brings
that
the
like
ball
he can
so well.
score on a free kick too, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of weird for him, and that's why like I'm interested, like you said, who's that guy that's going to pair with him? And I think if you would have had this conversation 2 months ago and Ruben Amorim was still at the helm for Manchester United, there's no way Manu's in the conversation because he erroneously said, well, he plays Bruno Fernandes' position. It's like, dude, he was playing with Declan Rice in the Euros. Why the hell can't he play there with Man U? And now he's playing pretty damn well with Casemiro, who's found a little bit of a fountain of youth. So I think he's in the conversation, and I think it would be a misstep for Tuchel to not bring him. Maybe maybe you don't give him the nod over Anderson or Wharton to start, but I think shit, man, he was a teenager playing in the Euros. Like that doesn't happen by accident, does it?
No, he's definitely got quality, and I think he showed that in the last kind of 4 or 5 games. And yeah, definitely, if he kind of finishes the season strong, I think Man United are they still in third now?
Yeah, they're in third. Yep.
Yeah, so I think if they finish strong and he's playing every week, he's definitely in with a shout. And I agree, quality player, he can take the ball, and for me, that's something that Rice isn't good at.
Right.
He's like dictating the game and receiving the ball from those deeper areas. Mainu's very comfortable, like technically. I think he's brilliant. So yeah, he's definitely in the mix, probably with Wharton and Anderson as that position. But yeah, got so many options, and yeah, I think probably Saka and Kane are certs for those 2 positions. But it's that left side that I think you probably want a dynamic player, like you say, Gordon or Rashford, someone that can offer that pace, because Kane kind of comes a little bit deeper. But yeah, it's exciting. You got a lot of options, so we'll kind of see.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. Just like our Rowdies are going to be fun this year. Can't wait to see you guys in action. I'll definitely see you in a couple of weeks. But my man, I mean, we could probably talk for the next 2 hours about Premier League and all these other things.
I love
it. Best of luck, my friend. Give my love to Jake and Coach and Jeff Attanella and everybody over there. Kick some butt this weekend. And yeah, I'll see you at Al Lang before you know it, brother. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Jay. Thank you.
All right, buddy. The great Lewis Hilton, my guy, man. We get into it. You know me, guys and gals. We don't get a chance to talk too much soccer, but what we do, man, it just pours out, baby. I love that stuff. And shout out to BM Cooper. Come on, you Rowdies. You got that right. Appreciate you, Lewis. You are the man. Great stuff, as always, from our guys. Rowdysoccer.com. Go get your tickets. You know I'll be at a bunch of games this year at Al Lang. We just made the announcement earlier. Drew Felios, Jeff Attanella on the broadcast, our good friend Deandra Lou from the Hockey News. She's going to be the sideline reporter. It's getting bigger and better when it comes to our Tampa Bay Rowdies. Just look at the social media. Rowdy Soccer. My guy Jeff Attanella is all over it. I mean, it's growing. The brand is growing, and it's just very exciting. It's very exciting to be a part of our Tampa Bay Rowdies. Oh, man. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So, Colton Parayko did not waive his no trade clause for a trade to Buffalo. Trade the Sabres. That's wild, bro. It looked like it was all but done. If you're the I wonder, could that be something? Could Colton Parayko be a guy that the Lightning would look into? He is. It's so funny. $32, 6'6", 230. And obviously a member of Team Canada. I don't think that would be the worst thing. Let's look at the contract. All right. Colton Parayko, 6.5, year 4 of 8. He'll be a UFA in age 37. So I don't know if that necessarily would work, because you would think if you're going to pay a right-handed guy, you might pay a guy like Darren Radish, wouldn't you? So I don't know if that would work for the Lightning. 6.5. Yeah, I don't know if that would work. But still, I mean, it's an interesting conversation to have. If you're going to go out and try to get a right-handed shot, would you be more comfortable paying him over the next 4 years? Or maybe 4 after this, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. That'd be a lot of money tied up on the blue line. I don't know. We'll ask Ed Encina that here in a little bit. We always talk about supporting local, whether that's our Tampa Bay Rowdies, the Tampa Bay Times, Lightning Insider. Parayko's a big dude, a big physical presence. John Cooper would have a first row seat for him because obviously just coached him in the Olympics. I think the Lightning would possibly be more comfortable paying a guy like that than a guy like Darren Radish, because Parayko's play is a lot more steady than what you see from Ratty. And if you look at Parayko's decision to not waive that no trade clause to go to Buffalo, that means that this is a lengthy decision and discussion that he's had with his family. No doubt about it. Like, that's the biggest thing. And you're talking about a team in Buffalo that is really coming on, and they're going to continue to try to make moves. And I love that. And one thing, and I know people get all butthurt about all the people that come in town and, oh my God, how do you sell your tickets? But there was a lot of Buffalo Sabres fans there the other night, a lot. And we see it with Bills Mafia, and we haven't seen it as much with the Sabres. But if you ask Dave Vanderchuk, he'll tell you that is a very, very passionate fan base up there in Buffalo. And they have been waiting for a winner. They drafted Jack Eichel number 2 overall after Connor McDavid. They've drafted Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power, and they've had Casey Middlestad. They've had so many of these young, exciting players, and it's got to suck for them to see like guys like Sam Reinhart move on and win a couple of cups, and they're finally playing really well. I mean, they're definitely boosted by the play of Tage Thompson, and don't mistake the success that he had in the Olympics. I mean, he's been one of the best goal scorers the last couple of seasons, and it was one of the big decisions that Billy Guerin made was bringing him, because let's not forget, we talk about who wasn't there for Canada and the U.S. in the Olympics and the Four Nations due to injury, but don't forget that Tage Thompson wasn't on the team for the Four Nations as a roster decision, and maybe he scores a goal in that final game, and maybe U.S. wins the Four Nations. If they win the Four Nations, what does that mean for the Olympics? We'll never know. But he is one of the main cogs for that Buffalo Sabres team, and they can skate. They fly. They're one of the fastest teams in the National Hockey League. Fun to watch. Very, very fun to watch. They've invested a lot into that blue line, and they try to, again, bring in a big name in, Colton Parayko, but he, unfortunately for them, said no. That's got to be a weird feeling, though. If you're a guy in Parayko, knowing that your team was trying to trade you, and now you got to go back into that locker room, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere else before the deadline tomorrow. And I think the Tampa Bay Lightning, if they're looking for a right-handed shot, I think they could do a lot worse than a guy like Colton Parayko. Would they be more comfortable paying a guy like Colton Parayko than Darren Radish $6.5 million over the next 4 years? I think they would. Does that mean that they will make that trade? No. But we'll ask our guy, Ed Encina, who joins us momentarily. Shannon Encina is here. Shannon, I got a bone to pick with you, too, because at Joey Knight's funeral the other day, you guys walked right by me and didn't say hello. So I am mad at the entire hockey family right now, including Shannon and everybody, because I was there. I drove to Zephyr Hills, and I was standing against the wall like a wallflower, and nobody said hi to me. Feelings, #hurt. I still love you, but feelings, #hurt. It was a very, very nice service. This past weekend, our guy Joey Knight up there in Zephyr Hills, and to see how many people from the Tampa Tribune and the Tampa Bay Times, and Rob Higgins was there from USF, as well as Brian Segrist and Nelson Louise from Buccaneers. TJ Reeves is there as well. Yeah, we lost a good one, man. We lost a good one, and it's not going to be the same covering USF football without him. It's just not. There's certain people that you defer to. There's certain people that, you just give that respect to. I just, it sucks, man. It was a great service. The video package that they had of the Friday night roundup, high school football stuff was hilarious. I loved it. Yeah, it's going to be weird without him covering USF football. When you're there and you're covering these teams and you're talking to these players and you're sitting in these press conferences, like, and again, we go back to the conversation we had a couple of months ago with the lady up in Jacksonville and her interaction with Liam Cohen. And I think what was lost during that entire thing is that there is a certain, I don't like, modicum of just tact and a modicum of there's just a certain way about press conferences, right? There's a decorum, right? It's not, and we're not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying that it needs to change. It's just kind of the way it is. And when you're in press conferences, one of the things that you always try to do is you want to be respectful for the guys that cover the team, guys and gals that cover the team on a daily basis. And that's their main gig, right? That's their main beat. So you're not going to ask a South Florida question before Joey Knight. You're not going to ask a hockey question usually without, deferring to Ed Encina, Eric Erlinson, Deandra Lou. Sometimes I get the first question in there. What happens for the Lightning is that when it's awkward and nobody wants to break the ice, that's when they just go, Jay, you go ask the first question. And I'm fine with it. I love it. It's all good. I love my hockey people. Same thing with Race, with Mark Topkin, right? It's just, that's kind of the way it goes. And you kind of get into a habit. You kind of get into a routine of how those press conferences go. And we have so much fun in the Lightning pressers. It's almost like a little party within itself kind of thing, for lack of a better term. It's an event inside of an event. We always just have so much fun after. But it's going to be weird to not see Joey there. He's not somebody that you forget. And he was always so, again, complimentary and supportive of me and covering things like soccer and covering things like high school and college. And he always thought it was so cool that I, was so close with Joe Urso and UT. And he appreciated the little things about this job. And I've had people say in the past, like, oh, when you leave DAE, it's going to be a real, it'll be bad at WDAE when you leave, because who the heck's going to talk about high school baseball, soccer anymore? And it's just like, okay, that's kind of a dick thing to say. But a guy like Joey Knight was always one of those people that lived his life in a way of, no, if that's important to somebody out there. And especially if you show the importance, it's a really cool thing to be able to shine a light on something that some other people may deem unimportant, but to the subject matter, it is everything. Let's bring him in. It's our good pal, the last real Us, Eduardo Encina. I told Shannon, she just blew right by me at the church too in Zephyr Hills. I guess we'll be friends now after it. This is the kind of attention I get. I bring on your brother-in-law, and then I just get walked right by, not even hello from any of the Encinas. What do you have to say for yourself?
First off, Jay, good afternoon.
Not so good now, Ed.
We didn't see you in there. There were it was great to see a lot of former Tampa Bay media people there. It sucks because it seems like the only time we really see a lot of us, and I know it's been big newspaper war, big media, competition all the time. But I think for the most part, all of us are really good friends. And it just kind of sucks that most of the time we see each other is at these kind of things. Like Joey, I think last time I saw a lot of these people was at Martin Fennelly's
Martin's,
memorial a few years back. So, so I apologize for looking around the room and not seeing your familiar face, because I see it all the time. Maybe I overlooked it to some degree, but
actually had normalish shoes on. Maybe that's what it was.
That might have been it. It wasn't like emitting the aura farming that we usually see from your dress.
I think I invented aura farming, because before aura farming was a thing, I was wearing these crazy looking shoes. All right, I'm throwing this out there, Ed. I need you to clarify. I need you to talk me off a ledge. I need you to contribute to this conversation. And my question to you is, now that Colton Parayko has said no to the Buffalo Sabres, could the Lightning be in play to acquire this veteran right-handed defenseman, knowing that he just played with John Cooper in the Olympics? And right. I know he's on the hook for $6.5 million over the next 4 years, and he's going to be 37 at the end of that deal. But this is a tried and true leader, assistant captain with the Blues. Would the Lightning, do you think the Lightning would be open to that deal, knowing that, hey, that money would not be money going to Darren Radish, but I think they might be more comfortable paying a guy like Colton Parayko, who's a lot more steady, than a guy like Darren Radish, who's had his ups and downs. What say you about that possible move for the Bolts?
So Julian always looks at the big picture, right? So Colton Parayko obviously makes the Lightning blue line, I would say, tougher to play against, much more physical. The idea of him going to Buffalo, when I first saw that, made Buffalo very scary with both size and speed, and the young talent and size and skill that they already have. Again, I think the big question is, one, what does the future look like when you acquire a player? That's also something that Julian looks at, right? So, what does the future look like with Parayko, his contract, and everything like that? Obviously, and then there's the money, right? So, what is it? $6 million?
Mm-hmm.
$6.5 million. So you're gonna have to figure out a way to move some stuff to get some money in, money out on that, or have St. Louis take on a sizable deal, which I don't think they did. And did they take on a sizable deal in that Buffalo, in the proposed Buffalo? I don't know if we knew the details of that really.
I didn't think.
But Parayko would look great, but one is like, especially given the fact that they do have a lack of right-hand shots, right now. But I do think that when you look at the Lightning, they've been that team all along that's been like, we like our guys. So in that context, and obviously, like you said, John Cooper has a very familiar knowledge of Parayko's game from coaching him in the Four Nations and in the Olympics. But to them, the question might be, what would we rather try to keep Darren Radish, knowing how he's fit in our system, knowing how well he's played on the power play with Nikita Kucherov, and versus inserting someone else. Now, I think there's too many. I think that the money thing's the biggest thing, right? Is how you fit in his salary. But I mean, again, I don't know. I feel like right now, the sense that I'm getting is that Julian likes the group that they have. He doesn't want to make a necessary big splash move, or is hesitant to make a big splash move to interrupt what they have. Obviously, the last 3 games that we've seen, a lot of people can put stock into it. A lot of people can just say it's a blip. But just from knowing the way Julian analyzes his team, I don't think he's putting that much stock in the struggles that they've had the past few games. Now, having said that, obviously, I think, I know we're talking about the defenseman core right now, and obviously, you always want to be at your best on that blue line. And I think that the big question going into the next 24 hours is, when you look at a team that's going to be dangerous in the playoffs, and we've seen both sides of it from the Lightning, is, where is that supplemental scoring going to come from, when it's needed the most? I think we've seen in the past couple of years that they've struggled to find that. And a part of that has been part of the reason they've been booted out of the playoffs in the first, the last 3 years. So, and as much as that Yanni Gourde line is great in what they do, and in terms of possessing the puck, making it hard to play, I think if you look at it in the postseason, you'd want to see more out of them offensively in terms of, and then now, I honestly think that the Dominic James injury is huge, because I think over the past probably month or so, we've seen a lot from Dominic James. We've seen him play a lot of different roles. He was a second line center when Braden Point was hurt. He can go down there and add that juice to a bottom six, namely a fourth line. And also without him and without Nick Paul, like that fourth line doesn't really look I don't think it's a line that really scares very many people.
Right.
And I think so if you can add a guy who can play that kind of way, that heavy kind of style of play, and maybe give some, make some contributions offensively, I think that's kind of where you have that need. Like right now, I mean, it's funny how injuries can hurt you so much. I know Gage is a day-to-day right now, but you look at the forward lines the other day in practice, and you see Scott Sabourin and Curtis Douglas on that fourth line, and it doesn't it's not to disrespect their game or anything like that, but I don't know if that's a fourth line that you want going into the stretch and down the playoffs. So, and again, I think they're going to have to get away. We're getting a little bit more into like strat here, but I think what we've seen is we've seen that 11-7 doesn't always work as well as it has for them recently. And so, do you have to at some point decide, okay, these are 6 guys that we're going with every night or for most nights, and go back to 12-6, because it just looks like there's a lot of jumbling, and with on the forward lines, on the defenseman pairings, and you want to have that you want to get that kind of stability when you're going into the down the stretch and into the playoffs. But just going back to the glory years in the 20s and 2021 and 22 to a certain extent, when we saw these guys be really successful, we saw guys like Yanni Gourde, Blake Coleman, Ross Colton, guys on that bottom 6 score huge goals for them, like monumental series changing goals. And I think when you look at the team right now, you kind of wonder where some of that magic kind of comes from in the postseason. So I think and I'm not saying you mess with that third line. I don't think you do that, but I think when you look at just that bottom 6 and where we're getting some of that, offense in the postseason, that's where you're kind of looking at, because as we've known recently is, in the playoffs, teams go and they try to lock down your best players. And if they can do that, then it's up to the other guys to kind of pitch in. So that's a long question for an answer about Colton Parayko, a question about Colton Parayko, but there you go.
Are there any guys in Syracuse? And I know when are you heading up there?
I'm actually not going there anymore. I kind of bumped it. Just because of the trade deadline, working on a couple other things, and
okay, yeah,
all
right. So
I didn't necessarily want to be in the air at certain times when things
smart
go
man.
down. So
smart man. But what players? The reason why I ask you that is, what players could we see called up that can contribute? We think so much of like NHL ready talent, but now that Connor Geeky's been called up, do we see a Wojtek Stachowiak? Do we see a Dylan Duke? Are there, Pelletier is a guy that they obviously brought in and has had a really good year with the Crunch. What do you think? Who's on that list that could be called up? Maybe one of those guys can play the role of a Yanni Gourde or Ross Colton.
I think those are the right names. I think Duke obviously. You look at his numbers. He's been kind of on a heater down there, and he's one of those guys that the organization loves, and he's done nothing to change that this year. Last year when I was down there, everyone raved about Dylan Duke, and we saw a glimpse of him. We've obviously seen him in training camp and everything like that, but I do think he is one of those guys who you bring in, much like I think Geeky, you bring him in, he can bring instant energy to your lineup, much like Dominic James did when he came up. That's due to a certain degree when they came up. And a guy like him, Stokoyak, he's another guy that, I don't think he's necessarily going to light up the scoreboard per se, but I think he's a guy who can contribute and give you timely offense and really plays a good style to fit in, in that bottom six as well. Who else were we talking about? There's also some of the usual suspects, guys like Mitchell Chafee, guys like that who can contribute. Who else were we talking about? Who's that third name that you mentioned there?
Stokoviak,
Duke, obviously Geeky.
Pelletier.
Oh, Pelletier. Pelletier, they've invested a lot in. He's on a 3-year deal, I think. So they signed him with the notion that he is a high upside guy. I think even in the time that we saw him at the NHL level this year when he was called up, we saw what he can do in terms of like skating, speed, some of the stuff he can do with the puck on his stick. And obviously he's put up huge numbers up in Syracuse. So I think you could see all of those guys as possibilities over the course of the next, if the need is there. I was a little bit surprised, to be honest, that they did choose this time to call up Connor Geeky, because every sense that I got was that he was not going to be coming up to play a fourth line role. And obviously that's kind of what we saw the other night in Syracuse. So is he deserving of a call up? Absolutely. He's done everything that they have asked him to do and more up there to deserve another call up. I thought that the messaging, and you were there for Julian's presser too, is like the messaging was more so that that they didn't want him to necessarily be here to play in a plug and play kind of role. That they wanted him to be here as a guy who, and maybe that still happens. We know, things can change. We don't know how long Gage is out for. But I was a little bit surprised to see that move and to see him playing, what was it? I think going to the third period, I think he might have had like 6 or 7 minutes of ice time. Weird. So, but again, like that can change. We've seen that with guys like Gage, all of a sudden we've seen him on the fourth, third line, and all of a sudden he's up there playing with guys. I think one thing that Coop is kind of doing is he's kind of reaching around to try to find out what kind of works right now. And, once that sticks, I think that's, we've seen it. Well, he'll stick with that for a while. But I think right now, you have the 11 forwards, and, you see the other night, Scott Sabourin gets a 10-minute misconduct, and all of a sudden you're down to 10, and, you got Nikita Kucherov double shifting, you got Jake Gensel double shifting, you got all these guys skating probably a little bit more than you want them to. So, Braden Point's double shifting, and, I think that kind of takes you out of your game, even more so than maybe an injury sometimes. So, I do think it'll be interesting to see tonight, and moving forward with a couple of division games, is what the lineup looks like, where they stick to 11-7, or they kind of know that they might need some extra extra minutes there with a 12 forward. So but yeah, I think the injuries are a factor. Obviously, who they feel is ready, and Syracuse is a factor as well. But yeah, so I think we'll see who comes up, but I think all those guys that we mentioned there are deserving of at least getting a shot to come up here and show that they can contribute.
Yeah, very nice season for the Lightning. Very evil last couple of games, that's for sure. Which of the Tampa Bay Lightning players could be on the trading block? So which guys we always talk about who's going to go in. Who could possibly be on the way out?
Well, when you look at it right now, where do they have a surplus? And right now you could say that they have a surplus with left shot defensemen. Obviously on the right side, the injury to Crozier doesn't help, because, that affects everything, even though he's a right shot guy. But, and guys who have value in the sense of, they still are under contract and have term after this year. And, so if you look at that, and I'm not like labeling this guy as a guy who's on the trade block or anything like that, but like, I would look at a guy like Bill Lilleberg as a potential guy, maybe, and a guy who is going to draw interest, too. A guy who's shown that he can be physical at the NHL level, a guy who can log, minutes on a PK. A guy who's established himself as a regular pairing guy, a guy who has very recently shown that he can play the right side as well. So all of that's attractive, and he's only, I think, 25, 26, something like that. So, and I think he has a year more of term on his contract. And I believe that he's still, I don't know if he has UFA status after that. He might still have some team control, some RFA status after that. So when you look at that, he's a guy that you've got to think is attractive. And, and obviously, I know we've talked a lot about, can you move Bjorkstrand's contract? That's the big kind of white whale in the room, the whale, elephant in the room, to kind of, that everyone looks at that as, okay, that's the guy that we could move and get some money out to bring money in. I don't think that's necessarily as easy, because he is on a, expiring deal and is a UFA at the end of the year. So, and then again, some of these guys too that they do have in the minors. I think a guy that stands out to me, who I think would be attractive to a lot of teams and is young, and a team can kind of get their arms around him and be like, hey, this might project to be a guy who can be a top pairing guy, is a guy like Max Groshev. I mean, we've seen the skill, we've seen the skating from him. It takes a lot for a guy to transition from a forward to a defenseman, and he did it like that. So, the intelligence is the player IQ, I guess the hockey IQ is there to be able to do that. Where his stock is right now, I don't know. And again, the Lightning have a couple second round picks. The Lightning have, I know the most recent available first round pick is until 2028, but we've seen this before where Julian will throw in he'll use these picks, whether it's years down the road, to try to get better. And I do think those are going to be a heavy negotiating tool too. But again, this is establishing to be a seller's market. There's not many guys available. We've seen teams like Toronto and Florida become sellers in the past couple of days, but then there's teams like Washington who, what are they? They just dealt Nick Dowd today. But are they still trying? There's still these kind of teams are kind of in between too. And I don't know if there's a lot of that too. And again, I mean, Julian talked about this in January, is a lot of guys who were pending free agents signed extensions with their teams, taking them off the market as potential, targets. And it's not as easy to make these trades anymore, because you don't have the third party broker availability for another team to take on additional salary when you need some help. So, I'm not surprised by the way the market has been slow. And again, I do think that, I don't know the numbers on this, but I do think a lot more guys have these no move clauses, and players are more and more being able to kind of dictate where they go. And if they don't get that fit, they're just not going, I think we obviously already saw that with Parayko, but I think there is that kind of plays into that seller's market a little bit, that the players themselves have a little bit more power in terms of trying to dictate where they can go and navigate where they want to go. I mean, this time last year, everyone was talking about Brad Marchand, right? And where was he going to go? And he navigated that expertly in terms of finding a landing spot and finding the right fit, and he was able to lift the Stanley Cup after it. So I think a lot of guys look at that and they're like, what, I can kind of pick my spot, which should speak well to the Lightning, because I think that the Lightning would be on a lot of those guys' lists, right? And it's just a matter of whether they can actually make that work, because in a lot of ways those guys make a good deal of money too. So
before we let you go, can we please talk about the Danhausen debut? Shouldn't have been at Elimination Chamber. Also, Ed has been dabbling at cheesecake yogurt bowls. Care to answer either one of those?
Yes, I will address both of those. I like Danhausen. I think I think we've heard, I heard a lot about how maybe there's a Danhausen R-Truth kind of shtick there.
Yes, can't wait. Danhausen. I have a Danhausen T-shirt. I have a Danhausen T-shirt.
He already cursed Dominic Mysterio, which I thought was great.
I hope Dominic loses every single match for the rest of the year, Like that's what needs to happen. They need to go full board. Danhausen's great. He is a perfect 1995 WWE character in 2026. He's gonna crush it. I don't know if you ever watched him online. He's hilarious. Dude.
Oh yeah, he's great. I mean, he's a big comic book guy too, which we are here in the Encina household too. So, but yeah, I think we get lost too much in like, what? Okay, this guy's little. What's he gonna do? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I thought the entrance was great. It was a surprise to me.
I liked it.
Like I loved how the disappearance acts both times. I love how he cursed Dom. Dom needs that. To keep him going a little bit too. So I really like that. And then what was so we've got we're dabbling in some recipes out here at the Encina household, and one of them is what is it called? Japanese cheesecake? Is that what it's called? I don't know. I just
cheesecake yogurt bowls.
Cheesecake yogurt bowls. Yeah. So basically, it's like you combine. It's supposed to be. It's good. It's a dessert that's high protein. So you combine Greek yogurt, sugar-free Cool Whip, protein powder, some like a couple dabs of like vanilla extract, and then you put low-fat graham crackers inside. And then the key here is it calls for chocolate, like melted chocolate, but we actually put chocolate flavored hummus on top, and then sprinkle some sea salt flakes on top, put that in the fridge overnight. Yeah, I put a couple strawberries. I diced up a couple strawberries, put those on top too. And it's the protein on this thing is like through the roof. And literally like I've got an appetite. I think you can like, everyone can tell I've got an appetite sometimes, but I eat like three or four spoonfuls of this thing and I'm done. So like you make one of these things and it can last you like for dessert for like 3 or 4 days. And it actually tastes good. Like that's the thing. Like I don't mess with stuff that like I like healthy stuff, but if it doesn't taste good to me, like I'm out the door, right? But this actually tastes good. Like maybe we can get a recipe thing to put on next time, and I'll put it on there, and we can maybe we can turn this into like a food influencer pod too. You know what I mean?
You're the modern day Julia Child right here on the program, buddy.
Really good.
It sounded good. I can't lie. I wish I could make fun of it, but it actually sounded really good. Ed Encina, Eddie in the Yard on Twitter /X. Again, we say it all the time. Support local, the Tampa Bay Times, especially now NHL trade deadline. You want to be able to get these incredible stories that we get, not just from Ed, but Stroud and Romano and Topkin and Colleen Wright and the entire crew, man. So again, support local, our friends at the Tampa Bay Times. Ed, you're the man. Go have 3 more scoops for me, buddy. And it's gonna be a late one tonight.
Spoonfuls, not scoops. It's different, Jay.
I know, and you know what? This guy didn't say cut up strawberries. He said diced his strawberries. So
well, they're just kind of like slivers. You know what I mean?
My man's been watching too much.
Always got to eat.
He's joined the NC Nation. Our guy Steve Garner, our Carolina correspondent. We are all about it. You can't see John Cena anymore, but you can certainly see Ed Encina every Thursday at 1:30 here on the program. You're the man, Ed. Have a good weekend. See you next week.
All right, buddy. See you later. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. Very nice. Very evil. Our guy Ed Encina here on the program. All right, guys. This is going to wrap it up for me. Back in action tomorrow on the program at noon. A big thank you to Ed Encina. Big thank you to Dr. Carlos Rodriguez and Lewis Hilton. We could have talked about soccer the whole damn show. And my God, for the love of Mike, a big shout out again. Richie P with the $50 super chat, the highest, the best super chat that we've ever had on the show. Every little bit helps, guys. I always say 1, 2, 5, 10, 20. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50 now. Thank you so much, Richie. And $10 to the super chat for Rolly. The only way that I continue to do this podcast is the super chats and with our partners here, Honest Hammer and Evara Health. Thank you guys so much. I couldn't do this without you guys. And Buck Skull gang in house. What do you think Tampa Bay is going to do at the deadline? I'll get to this real quick. I think they make a move. I think they got to make a move to the top 6. They got to bring somebody in to be able to help the scoring. Not having Dominic James is going to hurt, but I think this could be a little bit of a different move for Julien Brisebois, because I know he doesn't like to make moves because he likes his group, but I don't think there's any way he can look at his group right now and like what he sees from Oliver Bjorkstrand. I just don't know when everybody gets healthy what you're going to do with Emil Lilleberg. He's too good not to play. He's too good to be your 7th defenseman, and I think he can bring something in return. So don't be surprised if they, use Bjorkstrand, Lilleberg, and maybe one of those guys down on the farm for a guy that can help them out, like a Robert Thomas or somebody like that can win some draws. Maybe they get in late or on a Vincent Trocheck, and, maybe they, Parayko and, you know what I mean? Parayko and Robert Thomas, Parayko and Jordan Kyrou. I mean, I know the numbers are tough, but Julian's working. He's in the kitchen chefing something up. I know Elliot was talking about Bobby Brink. I still want Stamkos as well, because we just heard from Frank Saravalli, I think it was, or Elliot Freeman, whoever the hell it was. It looks like Nashville's going to sell in a big way. Parayko, from our guy Kevin Weeks, told his preferences of now is to stay in the West. He's open to the Kings and the Ducks among potential landing spots. Oh, there you go. Trade deadline tomorrow. We'll break it all down. Maybe Blake Coleman. We don't know. I think they need more of a top 6 guy. I think Blake's more of a middle 6 guy and a bottom 6 guy now at this point of his career. I think you need somebody a little bit more with an offensive upside. And then I also think that you need the guy that can win some draws on the right-handed side. So I said this on the show a couple of weeks ago. Vincent Trocheck would be an option, and I think Steven Stamkos as well. I mean, if you think about it, to get Tro or to get Stammer, I think it would be a huge boon, and it would, spark some electricity and excitement here in the Bay Area. All right, guys, it's going to wrap it up for me. I got to get ready for practice. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the J.